This screencast will explain how to insert a data table and a graph into your lab reports if you have forgotten how to do so. Let's start with a data table. To start with, you'll want to click in the data box, go up to the top of your screen and select the Insert tab, then select Table, and then go to the Insert Table right here. You should know how many columns and rows that you need for your data table, which should be drawn out ahead of time, which will make this much more simple. So to start with, our first lab report required 4 columns, and the number of rows varied depending on how many subjects you tested. So if you tested 6 total people, you're going to need 6 rows and then 1 extra row for your titles. So I'm actually going to enter 7, and then it appears right there. We were looking at the names of people. We measured their height in inches. We measured their foot length in inches. And then we found the ratio of height compared to foot length by taking our height and dividing it by the foot length. From here, you can simply enter in the names and the height and inches. So that's what we did for our first lab report. For your additional lab reports, just use what you have drawn to determine your columns and your rows. Let's look at making a graph. Graphs, similar. Click inside the box, go back up to the Insert tab, and select the Chart function. I like the bar charts, they're pretty simple to use, and select OK, and this will appear on your screen in front of you. Now you can change the x-axis by changing the values of your A column. We were using students' heights and foots for our first lab report, so our categories along our x-axis were the names of each student. So student 1, by changing it in this box here, it will change down here as well. So student 1, student 1. Category 2 right here, student 2, and it changes to student 2 down here. And we can continue for categories 3 and 4 as well. Now what happens if you had more than just 4 students? What if you had a 5th student? Well, student 5, student 6. As I add names to this list, you can see that they're now added here. They just need values entered in for their series 1, which is the graph. We were measuring the ratios for each student, so we only need 1 bar per student. To do that, get your big fat plus sign and go to the corner of the blue outlined bar until you get that diagonal double arrow. Click and drag and cover up columns D and C. We only need the 1. Now when I let go, check out what happens to that graph along the left side. Notice that 2 of the bars for each student went away. We can then plug in our ratios, whatever those happen to be, and as I move away, check out what happens to the bars. They change accordingly. And I'm just making up these values here. You have your calculated values already. And there's my graph thus far. However, one last thing, Series 1, that's not really a good title for a graph. You can do one of 2 things. Click on it and you can start typing in a new title, or you can click on the box right here, I believe, Series 1, and change the title to height/foot length ratio. and that will change the title here as well if you did not change it like I had done previously. Height, foot length ratios. And that is how you construct a graph on Microsoft Word. If you're having problems with your graphs or your data tables, please stop by and see me. You know my availability is limited to before school and during set times.